That was fast.
That was loud.
Yeah, I don't like using that thing. So this is the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, to be held June 19, 2018 at 6 p.m. And Deputy Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Norman.
Here.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Here.
Councilmember Howergy.
Here.
Councilmember Henry.
Here.
Vice Mayor Allen.
Here.
Mayor Linsky.
Here.
And Councilmember Altos is absent.
Okay, please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next on the agenda is a brief summary of current events by mayor, city council, and/or city manager. The public body does not propose, discuss, deliberate, or take legal action on any matter brought up during the summary unless the specific matter is properly noticed. Council, anything to report?
Quite a few items, and I'll try to whip through them real quick. One of the neat things is the city was donated by nationally renowned sculptor James Muir. They were donated a sculpture which will be put at our Verde Valley Military Service Park, but until the pedestal is built, it's available to be viewed over at City Hall. So it'll probably be there about a month. If you're interested, go over there. It's absolutely gorgeous sculpture. Attended the first of 2 water forums that went very well. They're very informative to the public and kind of set down any of those false narratives that are kind of being bounced around. It says it was a contaminated test, not contaminated water, so that was great to see. A longtime employee, Julie Murray, retired after 25 years, and I believe she's out there somewhere riding her motorcycle. That's what she was doing when she retired. I attended a day-and-a-half conference called the Arizona Women Leading Government, which really is appropriate for this council right now. We're kind of on the female-heavy side, which is, I think, a feather in Cottonwood's cap for being able to do that. Of course, everything changes every election, but was very interesting. I think any of our women officials really need to attend this, and some men, we had quite a few men there in attendance, to see how they could help increase women in leadership positions in their community. So something I will forward to all the other women in our city employ next year. It was kind of last minute for me, and it was great. Last thing is one more thing. There'll be a celebration of life for Dina Greenwood Miller. She was a longtime supporter of our birding festival and Jay's Bird Barn. That celebration will be at the Sedona LDS, or Mormon Church, on Friday the 22nd from 10:30 to 1:30. So anybody that knew Dina, please come and support her family and those that loved her. Thank you.
Okay. Any other council members? No? Deputy City Manager, have you got anything to report?
Yes, I do, Mayor. Just a few briefing points. The Parks and Rec Department will host their first movie in the park this Saturday, June 23rd, at the Old Town Activity Center. They will be showing Beauty and the Beast. Seating starts at 7 p.m. and goes and begins at dark. They also, Parks and Rec also had their 18th annual Daddy-Daughter Date Night this past Friday, the Cottonwood Recreation Center Banquet Hall. There was 81 in attendance, and that was up from last year. And this evening is specifically for girls ages 5 to 17 to acknowledge their fabulous fathers. Missoula Children's Theater and the City of Cottonwood presented a musical version of Gulliver's Travel this past weekend, also on Saturday, June the 16th at the Cottonwood Community Clubhouse. They put on 2 shows with about 300 people in attendance. Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, next we have our presentations. We have a presentation tonight from the MERCER Group for Executive Search Services for the recruitment of a new city manager. Evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Amanda Wilbur, your HR manager. Tonight marks the 3rd and final presentation on the search for our new city manager. Tonight we have with us Jim Mercer from the MERCER Group to share with you his vision for our upcoming executive search. With that, I'll turn things over to Mr. Mercer to introduce himself and present on behalf of the Mercer Group.
Great, thank you.
Thank
Welcome, Cottonwood.
Thank you. Mayor Linsky and members of the council, thank you very much for inviting me over, and I apologize for not being here at the meeting on the 5th, but my wife had both of her knees replaced simultaneously, which is something I wouldn't recommend, by the way. But she slipped on one of our throw rugs, which is I guess why they call them that, and fell and knocked one of her kneecaps loose. So both my children are way away somewhere. In fact, one of them's in England. So I'm pretty much her only caregiver. So I really needed to stay there that night. So thanks for allowing me to come this evening.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What I'd like to do is maybe talk for 10 or 15 minutes and then see if you have questions
Sure.
of me. I've got a handout that I'll give you somewhere along the way. A little bit about our firm. I started the Mercer Group in 1981 when I lived in Atlanta. And so we've been in business 37 years. And we specialize in both management consulting and executive recruiting, pretty much for local governments and special districts and things of that nature. We've done probably arguably more city manager searches than anyone in the country. And I've done most of those personally. We've done about 50 projects, give or take, in Arizona. Not all of those were city managers. There were some department directors, and like we did 4 department directors for Phoenix, for example. And a lot of other kinds of positions. I'm doing a library director search for Scottsdale right now. And just starting that, so we've got a lot of, and I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico these days, so we're pretty much close by, although it took me 6 hours to drive over here today, so not real close by. But you have a really nice city, from what I can tell. I've been to Sedona and many of the other cities around the state, but I've never been to Cottonwood before, so delighted to have the chance to do that. The way well, a little bit more about our firm. We have, there are 32 professionals in the firm, and we have 21 offices that cover the United States, from California to Virginia and Minnesota to Texas, and a lot of places in between. So those are mostly pretty small offices, as you can imagine, with 32 staff. But the way we operate is most of the people who are in the firm with me are independent contractors. And what that allows me to do is have a lot more senior people that are fully dedicated, to the work that we do. But I don't have to pay their overhead. And that's a good thing, a real good thing, matter of fact. So we can keep our fees kind of down and reasonable. You have our proposal.
Yes.
And it's based on a proposal we did for the city of Peoria, Arizona. And we have an active contract with them, so if you engage us, you would be doing it as a piggyback on their contract. And they're fine with that. In fact, Scottsdale uses that method when they contract with us. As a result of that, we give you the same fee quote that we gave them, which was based on a kind of a multi-year search arrangement with them hiring us every once in a while to do something. And so we gave them a discount, and you would, of course, have the privilege of that if you engaged us. I think it's like $14,750 for the fee portion, and then not to exceed $5,000 on expenses. And since I live in the Santa Fe, I can fly over on Southwest from Albuquerque you'll be here in about, well, not here, I can be in Phoenix in about 55 minutes. And with the time difference, I can actually be there sometime before I left.
That's amazing.
But what we do when we do a search is we come and spend quite a bit of time with you. There are 7 steps in our process, but we come and spend quite a bit of time with you, interview each one of you individually, And, you know, I'd like to sit in on a council meeting and kind of see what you're dealing with. I looked through your agenda from the meeting of the 5th, and you're dealing with a lot of things. So, but I'd like to be sure I understand kind of what you're dealing with, how you deal with each other. And I also like to interview the department directors. They're with the job every day, and I think they usually give us information that is valuable to us when we're talking to candidates or prospective candidates, because they want to know everything, you know, before they commit to being a real live candidate to come to Cottonwood. That getting started portion takes usually about 10 days to 2 weeks. Kind of depends on your availability and the time of year and, you know, that type of thing. And I would personally be doing this search, you know, if you engage us. So I'm kind of the senior member of the firm in a lot of ways. I mean, I had dark hair when I started, but that was a few years ago. So but supposedly with gray hair comes wisdom. So I hope that's the case. Anyway, I've got plenty of backup in case we have 2 senior vice presidents here in Arizona. One of them's a former city manager of Tucson, and one's a retired fire chief from Illinois, but he's a city council member in Goodyear, actually. So in case something were to happen to me, you know, they're in my backup, and they could be here actually quicker than I can. So once we get the information together for to begin the search process, I usually put together a brochure that looks something like this one. And this one happens to be from the city of Scottsdale. I did their city manager search a couple of years ago. And it's very attractive. You know, we really wanted to make it as attractive as possible so that people would pick it up and take a look at it and want to become a candidate and want to apply or want to talk to us about, you know, what's this all about and what can I expect, and that type of thing. They're obviously a much larger city than we are, but that kind of increases the difficulty sometimes. We got him a really good city manager, and he was a person that I placed in Casa Grande about 20 years ago, and he retired and was able, and still a young guy, so he was able to go to Tucson and is doing a great job there. And I think everybody's pretty happy with him, or they wouldn't have hired us to do the library director search. In this document, there's kind of 5 sections. And sometimes, by the way, this document is 4 pages long, and sometimes it's 6 pages. But there's a section in here about the ideal candidate. You know, what are we looking for in the way of a new city manager? What kind of characteristics should that person have? And then the second portion is about the position. That's pretty much the job description. You know, what is the person going to do when they get here? What's the job consist of on a day-to-day basis? And then there's a section about the city. And I try not to hype these things up too much, but you know, you want to make it sound as good as you possibly can. And you have a great city from what I can tell. I haven't really looked at all of it, but just my first impression was very, very positive. So, but I think what we want to do is, you know, prepare a marketing piece, but not make it so slick it sounds like a used car salesman. Mm-hmm. And then a little bit about the city government. I think you have the traditional council manager form, best I can determine. But I want to be sure I understand that, understand the nuances with regard to that, and then describe that. And then in the case of Scottsdale, I put the mayor and city council priorities in here because I thought that was pretty important for a new city manager to think about. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. Kind of depends on, you know, whether you want me to or not, or whether it's appropriate to do. Mm-hmm. And then there's a couple sections on the back. One's about compensation, and I try not to stake you out by saying, you know, you're willing to pay X or Y, or a range of X or Y. I usually say, unless you insist otherwise, that the compensation will be market competitive, and it depends on the background and experience of the person that you're going to hire. And that way, you get some flexibility. I'm doing a search for a special district in Texas right now, and they're paying their executive director $350,000 a year plus a huge car allowance and a real good fringe benefit program. And I didn't want to put that in a brochure, but one of the board members insisted that I do because he thought it would be a good selling tool, and it has been a good selling tool. But I'm afraid they're a little bit staked out. They're down to 2 people now that they're real interested in, and they're going to the full board in a couple of weeks. And I'm afraid that when we get around to making an offer, then they say, I want $350,000. And most of them are not making anywhere near that. So it's, anyway, that's probably more detail than you want to know at this point. But what we do is once we get this together, we usually do it in a couple of steps. One is put the narrative together and put that in front of you and make sure that you're comfortable with what we're saying and not saying and that type of thing. And then once we get that done, we do a nice color layout. And then I'd like to have you take a look at it again and make sure you're comfortable with things. I was doing a county manager search in Hamilton County, Ohio, which is the county that Cincinnati is in, several years ago, and there was a 3-member council, three-member commission, county commission, and they wanted me to put a bridge. They're real proud of our bridges in Cincinnati, and they wanted me to put a picture of the bridge on the cover. So I told the HR director that I was dealing with. I said, I need some pictures and make sure that there's some bridges in there. So he gave me pictures of everything and bridges. So I put one of those on the cover and put it back in front of the commission, and they said, this looks great, let's go with it. And then about 2 weeks later, the newspaper picked up the fact that that bridge really wasn't one of theirs, it was on the Mississippi River, down by Davenport, Iowa. So the sheriff got all over me about that, and I said, wait a minute, I just deal with what you give me. And anyway, it all worked out. But moral of the story is that I don't know what their bridges look like. I mean, I have a general idea because I've driven over several of them, but
We don't really have many bridges here. I don't think we'll go that direction.
You're safe.
okay. But anyway, when we get this together, we've got mailing lists of about everyone you can think of, and so what I do is kind of custom tailor a mailing list and send this out by email to people that we have on our list, and along with a cover letter, encouraging them to apply, or if they can't apply, maybe recommend someone else to us. And then we start following it up with phone calls. And we, of course, advertise the position and everything because it's a public position, and you want to make it available to anyone who wants to apply. But frankly, in today's world, the pools are all drying up. So we have to work a lot harder to find really good people than we did 20 or 30 years ago. And it used to be that, you know, if you opened a city manager search for Cottonwood, Arizona, you get 100 applications. Now you're lucky if you get 25 or 30. So you have to work at it. And that's good because it gives us a chance to talk to people. And the more we can talk to them, you know, the more we have the understanding about, you know, whether or not they're going to be a good fit and that type of thing. I'm taking more time than I should be, but the other things that we do are, once we get a pool together, I want to narrow that pool down to, let's say, 12 to 15 people, and come back and meet with you, hopefully in a closed session, and say, okay, here's what you told me to look for, here's what I found. Let's talk about them a little bit and see if we get that down to about 7 or 8. And then I need to personally interview those people, either by Skype or by telephone, or if possible, in person. And I can't really delegate that. I've tried over the years to delegate some of that to some of my other office managers. And some of them are real good at doing interviews and others are not. So, but it's hard for the person who started the search to hand that off to somebody else and expect them to have the same understanding that I did. And so anyway, once I get through with that, I'll put together a report in the form of an interview guide, which has a lot of suggestions up front about how to conduct interviews, and you probably haven't done this in a while, so, and I'll come sit through all that with you, but in addition to that, there's a section on each candidate that talks about what we found in our officer background checks, which we do a detailed amount of those. Their resumes, sometimes we give them a questionnaire and ask them to fill it out so that it has some of their top accomplishments and some things like that on it. And their resumes, cover letters, and an evaluation form for each one of them. We also give you sample questions to use during the interview. And I try to make those as custom tailored as I can to the city of Cottonwood instead of just generic information. And then there's an area of questioning to avoid, like age and religious affiliation, and you think they're kind of commonsensical. And then I'll come and be with you throughout that process. I usually don't participate, I usually kind of sit on the side. But I want you to be able to ask me questions and maybe have me do some additional due diligence if necessary. And then we'll, if you get down to someone you're really interested in and you want to put them under contract, for example, I don't know if you do or not, but I can help you negotiate that. And we've got plenty of sample copies of ones that have been done over the years. And then once the person agrees and commits to a date to come on board, then I'll close off the search in a professional manner by notifying everyone who applied. And then if you'd like me to, there are a couple of follow-up steps. One is, I think it's really important to have some kind of a sit-down session with that new manager, maybe 30, 60 days after they're here, and set some mutual performance criteria, at least for the first year. And I can act as a facilitator to help you do that or not, just make suggestions to you. But I think it's important to do that. Otherwise, you may get to the end of that first year and you're thinking, that person's going to be doing this, and he or she's thinking, I'm going to be doing that. And so you're like 180 degrees out from each other, which is not a real good place to be. The other thing is we check in with you about once a quarter and see how things are going, and with the placement. Sometimes I had a placement a few years ago that thought they were going to get something as part of the offer. I think it was a cell phone. And that's not a real big deal, but it is. Sometimes it's a big deal to the person. And they didn't get that, so I went back to the council and I said, would you consider, providing that, because he thought he was going to get it, and they did. So it all worked out. And then the other thing is we have 10 guarantees of our work, and the most important of those is if the person leaves your employment for any reason during the first 2 years, after placement, we'll replace them for expenses only. And I've had to do that a couple of times. Actually, I had a couple of city managers that died during our first 2 years, which was not real wonderful. But the council called me after a reasonable period of time and said, are your guarantees still good? And I said, yes. So I went back and replacement. But, and sometimes they don't work out. Once in a very while, you know, the fit's just not there. And I try to really watch out for that during the entire search process, but because that's part of our responsibility, I think, is to make sure that fit really works. But sometimes it doesn't. And so if that's the case, we'll, you know, if it's during that first 2 years, we'll come back and replace it. So why don't I stop there, Mayor, and see if you have questions?
Sure. Any questions for Mr. Mercer?
It's very thorough.
Very thorough. Yeah, thank you for making the time to drive out here. Hope you spend some time spending your money up and down the street. Would appreciate that. I had just a couple questions though for you. The timeline. You said you would want to bring the narrative of this brochure
Yeah,
to council, and then again the visual of it. So, are we starting this process early enough to?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me that. I forgot to mention that, but we usually work on like a 90 to 120 day process.
Okay.
And that's from the date of beginning a search to a decision on your part. We're in the middle of June right now, and I don't know what your meeting schedule is like the rest of the summer, but it's usually, sometimes I couldn't get to the city council in Scottsdale for a month because they were gone, and I think they take the entire month of August off. So I need to know more.
Right.
But we could do it in 90 days, but I need really heavy cooperation on the part of the city council.
Right.
You know, to get things back to me quickly.
The reason I asked is just because of the public open meeting law, and just making sure that when we have to make a decision as a body, there's enough time ahead of us to do that. We meet 3 times a week, or excuse me, feels like it. three times a month, and we can always have special meetings too, but we don't take time off.
And I'm in pretty good shape on doing searches right now personally, so I could start, you know, as early as next week. I've got to go to South Padre Island, Texas, and finish up that search that I mentioned to you earlier on the 28th and 29th of June. But other than that, I could start right away.
Okay. But you feel confident we have enough time in front of us to fill this position by the end of by January? Okay, great. Any other questions?
No?
No. Thanks. Enjoy your stay here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, next is call to the public. This portion of the agenda is set aside for the public to address the council regarding an item that's not listed on the agenda for discussion. Are there any folks here tonight to address the council? Okay. Then next is approval of the minutes. We have special work session of September 28, 2017, regular meeting of March 20th, 2018, work session of May 8th, 2018, and the regular meeting of May 15th, 2018.
Move to approve the minutes of special work session of September 28th, 2017, regular meeting of March 20th, 2018, work session of May 8th, 2018, and regular meeting of May 15th, 2018.
Second.
Okay, Vice Mayor made the motion, and Councilmember Henry seconded it. Do I need to do roll call now on this, or are we kicking that?
August 3rd.
August, okay, great. Getting some changes are coming on how we have to approve these things. So anyway, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Next, under unfinished business, we have just one item. It's ordinance number 640, amending Title 15, Buildings and Construction of the Municipal Code to update the city's Uniform Building Code, Fire and Technical Code, second final reading. Hello.
Erin Nejad, Community Development Manager. There's no changes since the last meeting, and everything was straightforward, just from 2009 to 2012 building code.
Okay. We discussed this at our previous meeting in length, so any other thoughts? Nope. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve ordinance number 640.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Henry made the motion and Councilmember Piper seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ordinance is approved, and Deputy Clerk, please read ordinance number 640 by title only.
Ordinance number 640, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending Title 15 Buildings and Construction of the Municipal Code to update the city's uniform building, fire, and technical codes. Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you. Okay, next is the consent agenda. Following items are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council. They'll be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen requests, in which case we'll remove the item from the agenda. So we have a lot on the consent tonight. I'll read them all in order here. Item 1 is approval for the fire chief to contract with a fire apparatus broker to sell the city's 2007 American LaFrance fire engine and to determine consent to the initial asking and final sales prices. Item 2 is agreement with the U.S. Geological Survey for joint funding for the costs of hydrologic data collection in the Middle Verde River watershed for federal fiscal year 2017 and 2018. Item 3 is new liquor license application for Stephen C. Cook, applicant for Poquito Loco, located at 1028 North Main Street, Suite B. Item 4, resolution number 2952, adopting the updated 2018 Yavapai County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. Item 5 is request to waive sections 9.12.030 and 9.08.040 of the Municipal Code to allow the sale and consumption of wine during the fantastic 4th of July event scheduled for July 4th, as the name would suggest, 2018, at the Cottonwood Kids Park. Item 6, approval of proposed scope of work with Clear Creek and Associates for completion of underground storage facility and water storage permit applications, modeling, and analysis. Item 7, application for extension of premises patio liquor license permit submitted by Billy Tinnen for American Legion Post 25, located at 480 South Calvary Way, for an event scheduled for September 21, 22, and 23, 2018. Item 8, resolution number 2954, approving an intergovernmental agreement with Yavapai County for election services. Item 9, special event liquor license application submitted by Thomas Schumacher, applicant for the Verde Valley Wine Consortium for an event scheduled for July 4th, 2018 at the Cottonwood Kids Park located at 321 South 12th Street. And last is council consent for the mayor to be absent from the city for more than 15 days as required by the municipal code. Are there any items that a council member would like to pull from the consent agenda? No. Are there any items that a member of the public would like to have pulled from the consent agenda? Okay.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, council member made the motion. Council member Piper seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda is approved. And Deputy Clerk, please read resolution number 2952 and 2954 by title only.
Resolution number 2952, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, adopting the Yavapai Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan for 2018. And resolution number 2954, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, approving an intergovernmental agreement with the Yavapai County Board of Supervisors and the Yavapai County Recorder for Election Services. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we move on to new business. We have item 1 is interview of Planning and Zoning Commission applicants. Jesse Dowling, Gary FORESMAN, and David Meyers. Thanks.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Amanda Wilbur, HR Manager. Due to the resignation of Ed Kyler, we have one Planning and Zoning Commission seat available. This opening, along with one other that's currently open, this opening was advertised and we received 3 applications from Jesse Dowling, Gary FORESMAN, and David Meyers. As there were more applicants than positions open, we went through the blind review process. So that process has been done. Tonight, we are here to interview all 3 applicants. All 3 applicants are here for you to interview tonight, and all 3 meet the minimum criteria for this one position that's open. So without further ado, all applicants should be here for you tonight.
Great.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to step down because I did the blind matrix.
Great, thank you. So we did make changes recently to the way we appoint members to these commissions, and so Tonight, you've already been scored by the committee that, on which Councilmember Norman serves. Your applications have been scored. And tonight, we're going to do an interview, and then we'll score you based on the interview. Those two totals will be tallied, and then we'll make a decision at a future council meeting. So no decision will be made tonight. So without further ado, I'll call up the applicants as they're listed here, and the first applicant is Jesse Dowling. Good evening, and thank you for applying.
Oh, thank you very much.
So, sorry, one thing I didn't mention, we have questions for you.
Fantastic.
They're simple.
I hope I have answers.
They're simple, and there's only 3.
Fantastic.
So, the first question is, please tell us why you wish to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Well, I wish to serve because actually I just got back into the city. I'm actually living here now. Considering I sort of got back in a little late to actually try for the council again. I was previously on the council. Love it or hate it. Love me or hate me, I should say. So I really wanted to kind of, I got the word that there was an opening and somebody needed to fill it. And I thought that if I couldn't be on the council and didn't have the timeline for that, I would go ahead and do this and offer my services and attempt to give back to the community that's given so much to me. So that's really the long and short of it, I would say.
Great. Okay.
And I'll interrupt really quickly to say that I think that somewhat given my background of being on the council in the past, having a design and engineering background and working on projects, and interfacing with the design review boards, as an outsider, it sort of gives me maybe a different take on how the whole system works, and I might have another way of looking at it than other people would, and maybe it would be beneficial.
Okay. What are your specific qualifications to serve on the Planning Commission?
If I had to compile those, I would say that being born and raised here in the Verde Valley and having seen it go from a 4-way stop sign down by the Bank of America and Valley National Bank, as it used to be at the other one, I've seen the arc of its growth and its progression. I've worked in the industry that is somewhat responsible for doing a lot of that work. I've just kind of seen it from start to finish, and I still sort of participate in that, so I think that that would give me another eye for looking at things and for understanding how projects would progress, and just looking at it from more of an outsider/insider point of view.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And last question is, what do you hope to accomplish during your appointment?
I would hope to serve faithfully, expedite the process, and keep things moving along. I would hope to try and answer more questions than I ask, and just offer my abilities and services back to the city.
All right. Now, do you have any questions for us?
I don't think so, because I kind of sat over there before, so I don't have any that are jumping out of my head.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of know what I'm getting into, so I don't know that I really have that many.
Okay, great. Well, again, thanks for applying. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much for the opportunity.
Great. Okay, and next we have Gary FORESMAN. Thanks for being here this evening. So, they're the same 3 questions. The first is, please tell us why you wish to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Sure. I mean, I've definitely been really interested in getting involved with the city, and so I figured this would be a good way to kind of get my foot in. I've been really getting more and more involved with building, natural building, and that kind of stuff as well. I've done a lot of landscape work and that kind of stuff and so I want to kind of get more into understanding, contributing towards how we go about our planning and our zoning to hopefully really support more sustainable progression and hopefully more restorative progression in how we develop this town.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. What are your specific qualifications for planning and zoning?
Sure. As I was saying, I have several years working in landscaping company for several of them and doing kind of rainwater catchment and gray water systems as well. And then the past year, I did a natural building internship over in Moab, so it was start to finish construction for 3 homes that were low income. So that's most of the kind of building experience that I have. Beyond that, I haven't gotten to work in the city yet, so I'm really hoping to get more experience in that.
Okay. Great. And then the last question is, what do you hope to accomplish?
I really want to be able to empower the city and its citizens to be able to do restorative practices that are beneficial for kind of improving our water systems and watershed. That feels really important to me. And also improving quality of life, reducing toxic materials that we're using in our building construction and everything like that. And hopefully just continuing to restore the ecosystem and build up.
Right. Okay, great. And do you have any questions for us?
I am curious if there would be a conflict, since I'm also with the Parks and Rec Commission, if there's a conflict if I were in both, or?
That's a question for our attorney.
The offices would not be incompatible. They'd only be incompatible if they can't be performed simultaneously, or if the demands on one would preclude performing the other.
Right.
So no.
You'd be a very, very busy man.
Yeah, sounds like it. Great.
But no, I guess, no, it wouldn't be,
Cool.
would not be any legal.
Right, great.
No disqualifying conflict.
Okay.
Sure.
Great.
That was my main question.
Yeah, both commissions meet once a month, so.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and next we have Mr. David Meyers. Evening. All right. First question is, please tell us why you wish to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Quite simply, I feel called to serve. I serve the community in different ways. I'm on a community nonprofit. I currently serve in the military. I've always been fascinated with local government. After reviewing the different openings on the various boards, I have some background, specifically in planning and zoning. I see that one fitting me best.
Okay. Can you get into that a little bit more? What are your specific qualifications for this board?
So I have a bachelor's in planning and zoning, or urban and regional studies. So rather I don't have that work experience within zoning, planning, CAD and whatnot. I do have that education, which really provides that outsider perspective.
Okay. And what do you hope to accomplish during your appointment?
I'd really hope to see beneficial work come out of both the petitioners to the Planning and Zoning Commission as well as the city, really work better together, helping those relationships.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't quite catch the first part of your sentence.
No, absolutely. I'd really want to see some better relationships and customer service as far as the petitioners to the Planning and Zoning Commission and the city and the different departments as they work together.
Okay, great. And do you have any questions for us?
I don't.
You don't? Okay, well, thanks for your application. Appreciate it. Okay. So, again, we'll tally these scores with the others, and we'll make a decision at the next council meeting, or probably the first one in July. I really do appreciate all of you seeking out opportunities to serve Cottonwood, and we have openings almost all the time. We rotate commissioners in and out all the time, so if you don't get this appointment, there will be many other opportunities, and please stay tuned. All right, so next on the agenda is resolution number 2951, appointing Thomas DISISTO, a member of the city's Board of Adjustment.
Good evening. We currently have 5 Board of Adjustment seats vacant. We had one applicant recently, Thomas DISISTO, and based on our current requirements, Mr. DISISTO meets all of our minimum requirements. He has been invited to speak to you tonight if you have questions for him. Otherwise, staff recommends that we appoint Mr. DISISTO to the Board of Adjustment.
Mr. DISISTO, would you care to come up and, you do know what you're being charged with right now, right?
I'm afraid to ask. Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council, good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for being here. So, would you like to tell us why you care to serve on this board?
Other than the obvious, I'd like to serve the community. I feel as though I have a lot to offer in respect to my past. As you can see, I'm in the Elks, right. And I have been exalted ruler for 2 years. Now I'm actually on the zoning board for the Elks for their rezoning issues up in Clarkdale. They're zoned right now for residential, and we need to get it. So had a meeting earlier before coming here with the Clarkdale board and discussed why, you know, we should be allotted a commercial zoning. Let's see, so I'm doing that. I am on the board of directors for the Verde Santa Fe Golf Course. That's kind of like a fun thing, but anyway, they were looking for somebody. I applied, and so I've been doing that for about 3 years now. And that you know, I work with the owners and the golfers, the men's group, for resolutions on rules, things that they don't like, that sort of thing. Take it to the owners and discuss what we can do about it.
Right.
Pretty simple.
Right.
I also am on the board of directors for the Home for New Beginnings, and I believe you're familiar with that. I won't go into a lot of detail other than that that's a huge project. My wife is actually the founder of that, and we have a board. I'm tasked with marketing, sales. We have a big event Saturday at the Verde Fairgrounds, the big ball drop, and it's really to raise funds for the home for the needy children. So that, and I also chair the Cottonwood Youth Week and Americanism Contest every year. So, and I was in the Navy for 20 years in naval aviation, advertising after that. And I thought, you know, I said to my wife, you know, I really would like to get involved with something in the community. And we saw the ad, and she says, look at this. It's right up your alley. So
perfect.
Here I am.
And you still have time with everything else that you do.
Yes, sir.
Well, it's not the most active board, but it's a very important board. And when we need it, we really rely on the Board of Adjustments. So thanks for your application. And I would recommend that we appoint Thomas DISISTO to the city's Board of Adjustment.
Second.
Okay, so Mayor made the motion, Councilmember Pfeiffer seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Deputy Clerk, please read resolution number 2951 by title only.
Resolution number 2951, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Arizona, appointing Thomas DISISTO a member of the Board of Adjustment and establishing his term of office. Mr. Mayor.
Okay. And one more appointment up here is resolution number 2953. Welcome back.
Hello again. I feel like I'm taking all your time tonight. We received one application for one seat on the Parks and Recreation Commission. It expires July 19th, 2020. The application we received was from Gary FORESMAN, who you met earlier when he interviewed with you for the Planning and Zoning Commission. So he's here tonight if you'd like to speak to him about Parks and Rec.
Sure.
Otherwise, Mr. FORESMAN meets the minimum criteria for this board and commission, and we, as staff, recommend that we appoint Mr. FORESMAN for this position.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I may not have made it clear in the beginning that if there's just a single seat and a single applicant, then we just directly appoint if the council so chooses. So it's only when we have multiple applicants for a single seat that we go through the other process. So, Mr. FORESMAN, would you like to approach the podium again and let us know why you feel like you are a good fit for the Parks and Rec Commission?
I think play is awesome and super important. So I feel like that's a very valuable thing that we can provide with Parks and Recreation. Also an advisory council member of Non-Toxic Verde Valley, and so really want to try and again, help towards improving our processes and hopefully improve the practices that we use in order to restore the Verde River, as well as our local watershed. And, well, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Council, what's your pleasure tonight?
Can I make a motion, move to appoint move to appoint Thomas DISISTO, a member of the city's board of, see, I did jump up. Move to appoint Gary FORESMAN as a member of the Parks and Recreation Commission.
Second.
Apologies.
Okay, the Vice Mayor made the motion. Councilmember Pfeiffer seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, congratulations. Thank you. All right, did you want to ask? Oh, I'm sorry.
Done by resolution. We can infer that that was a motion to adopt the resolution.
Yes, you can infer that.
Infer that, okay.
Okay, then let's have you read resolution number 2953 by title only.
Resolution number 2953, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, appointing Gary FORESMAN, a member of the city of Cottonwood's Parks and Rec Commission, and establishing his term of office. Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And I have a question for Steve at this point.
Yes.
The mayor's going to step down on this next item, the Building Community Block Grant Funds. I actually sat on the committee that determined which of these applicants we were going to go ahead and award the funds to, so do I need to step down as well?
Our practice would suggest that you do.
Okay, so.
And we still have a quorum.
If you want to appoint somebody to.
Sure, so I'll appoint, here's the deal. Next item on the agenda is, I'm sure many are confused out there, award of the city's fiscal year 2019 Building Community Grant Funds. I serve on the board for one of the applicants, so I'm going to declare a conflict for that reason. And Vice Mayor Allen served on the committee that reviewed the applicants, and so therefore, so she's not double voting, she essentially needs to step down as well. So I don't know when the last time was the mayor and the vice mayor both had to step down, but that's what's happening. So I'm going to appoint Councilmember Pfeiffer to take over, if that pleases you.
Well, good evening, remaining council members. I'm Jeff Cook, the Contract and Purchasing Administrator for the City of Cottonwood. Tonight I'm representing the Building Community Grant Committee in the recommendations to approve awarding $12,000 to the Verde Valley Homeless Coalition for a daytime drop-in center and $2,500 to Disking for Kids to operate a youth disc golf program in the Verde Valley. A little background, we released the request for proposals in the spring. 3 proposals were received by the deadline, one of which was the one I haven't mentioned yet, Steps to Recovery Homes, was found to be ineligible because they have received funds in any of the past 3 years, which is against the policy. So we notified them to go ahead and apply. They're eligible again starting 2020. The committee they reviewed applications individually and met on 2 different occasions to review the applications submitted, and decided to make offers for recommendation kind of contingent upon a few things. There were some concerns on the location of the daytime drop center that you've, I believe, all seen in an email from the chief, and some other things. So that one's based on a conditional use permit for the Verde Valley Homeless Coalition. Outside of that, I do have Rena Avalon here tonight representing Verde Valley Homeless Coalition, and Eddie Diaz from Disking for Kids if the council has any specific questions for them on their programs that they intend to operate with these funds.
Would either one of you would like to present to us? Okay, go ahead.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, thank you for giving me the honor of bringing my program, Disking for Kids, down to your community. I can recall 3 years ago when Ryan Bigelow and I presented a check for $1,000 to the Veterans Garrisons community of the park. And at that point, I told the council, I said, I am bringing my program back to you. I'm going to make a commitment, not a promise. Promises are meant to be broken and commitments are action. I started my program in Flagstaff 3.5 years ago with 20 children at Killip Elementary School, where I went to school 49 years ago. And fast forward it to today, I have over 2,000 children in my program. I go to every elementary school in Flagstaff, and I have made a commitment that I will never charge these children a dime. This is a free program that we have been able to instill in our community. In doing so, it's a 100% volunteer program. So when the parents ask me, what's the catch? Why don't you come hang out with your child for a little bit? That's the catch. That's all I ask them. And in turn, the way we're able to fund it is by grants, by community involvement. Up in Flagstaff, I have phenomenal support. I have Oxendale Honda, I have Blocklight. I mean, this is a program that I run in Flagstaff where it's a free program for the kids in the month of July. With this grant, what it's going to enable me to do is it's going to enable me to get my startup program, and then in turn, we received the educational tax credit now, Disking for Kids does, which is phenomenal. And as I said, I'm going to make a commitment to the council, the mayor, and vice mayor. This is going to be free. I'm not going to come down here and try to charge your kids for anything. I will never let anyone exploit them or try to get them out there selling trinkets. Not about that. It's about teaching these kids core values: accountability, responsibility, environmental impact, all of the above, leadership. And if they learn how to play disc golf, so be it. If not, I don't care. But just another quick thing. We've been honored, Disking for Kids, to be able to find a child. His name is Martin Bengtson. He just turned 13 years old, and he's been playing disc golf for our program for just almost 1.5 years now, going on 2 years. I will be taking him to Emporia, Kansas in July with his father for 1.5 weeks to the World Junior Disc Golf Championships, where he'll be playing against everybody in the world, and he's coming from Cottonwood. No, that's huge. You know what I mean? And I've already taken him and his little brother to the California Junior State Championships, where they got a 2nd and a 4th place. So, like I said, it's all about the children. It's all about building it. And as I said, thank you for letting us, because I'm not disking for kids, because I'd be disking for old men. It's disking for kids. And once again, thank you all so much, and I can't wait to get here.
Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
I don't, no.
Oh,
Thank you.
You know what? Let me address the letter that I received. The letter that I received asked what I was going to do with the baskets, okay? And that was the letter of intent. And what I will do with the baskets are all portable baskets. The life expectancy is approximately 2 years. At that point in time, what we do is we replace them because they're portable. I can give them back to the rec. Or what we normally do in Flagstaff is we play them forward. We give them to our rising star kids, the ones that have already been mentoring other children in the program. That's what we do. We give it to them. And then at that point, we have one of our sponsors, Steaks and More, or the gas station down at the corner. And we have them buy us a basket that we get to continue using for the kids.
Right.
And I don't even want to address the next question, but I have to. What happens if the program doesn't succeed? It's going to succeed. I mean, if it doesn't, I'll give them back. I got no qualms, but they're not going to get rid of me. You guys are going to see more and more of me. So, any questions?
Is this inside or outside?
What I've done, ma'am, is I've been able to create 2 curriculums. I've written an indoor curriculum and an outdoor curriculum for the children. We actually start the children from kindergarten all the way up into high school. And I also teach at Northern Arizona University as a disc golf instructor there.
So you can do it inside?
Yes, ma'am. What we do inside is, as I was explaining to the council, it's all about core values, about leadership, and about being in tune with what we're doing. Because I have 2 rules, and that's being safe and having fun. Everything else is solely expectations that I put upon these children. By putting the expectations that enables them to be able to grow, to come out of their shell, and mentor others. And that's what it's all about, because we are a safe zone. I mean, with no bullying, no, I'm better than you. None of that. You teach someone else. So I could go on forever. I'm going to give you the mic. Thank you so much, Council.
Thank
I'm
you.
looking forward
Thank
to
you.
any questions?
And is there someone here from the Verde Valley Homeless Coalition that would like to speak?
Hi, Mayor, council members. We are so excited.
And what is your name?
Brenda Avalon. I'm the executive director. And we are so excited about the prospects of opening the drop-in center. Right now, we have a lot of, their planning and zoning is requiring a lot of us for the conditional use permit. So we'll know about that on the 16th of July. We have a hearing. But our purpose is to give individuals who are experiencing homelessness a safe place indoors where they can use, we have 2 computers now and 4 more that are coming. We'll have a phone to help them with job housing searches, and we're gonna have a library and case management. I was a case manager for a dual diagnosis recovery house for 6 years. So I have experience in that. And we have another volunteer to work with them. Yavapai College has agreed to come in and talk about their GED program. They offer a free GED program, and they're on the bus line, and so they're willing to come in. We have probable interns from the social work department at Yavapai College. Once we know for sure that it's gonna happen, they're gonna put that out there. We're gonna have life skills coaching and like to help people cope with their circumstances and our goal is to try to motivate them to want something different, you know, to not just be satisfied where they are being homeless, but to imagine that they could expand, that there is another way of life. We want to have laundry services. We'll have a TV with wholesome DVDs. There's an outdoor patio, which is, I don't know if you've seen the site plan, but there's an outside patio that's on the side to the rear so that people, if they're going to smoke or they want to talk, or they won't be hanging out in front of the building in the public eye. And so we're just very excited about this, you know, because since the loft is closed, you know, there's a severe lack in services in Cottonwood. So, are there any questions?
Any questions? No, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Any comments from the council?
Any additional questions on the process or either of the applicants?
No, they look like very qualified applicants and much needed services in our community.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you both.
Do I hear a motion?
I move to award an amount not to exceed $12,000 to the Verde Valley Homeless Coalition as recommended by the Building Community Grants Committee, contingent upon the Verde Valley Homeless Coalition's receipt of a conditional use permit from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I don't hear any. Okay, it passes.
I move to award $2,500 to Disking for Kids under the Building Community Grant Program as recommended by the Building Community Grants Committee.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it passes also. Thank you. Welcome.
Can I move to play the claims and adjustments?
Sure.
Second?
Vice Mayor made the motion, Councilmember Piper seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Second? Third?
Councilmember Henry made the motion, Councilmember Norman seconded it. And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.